Today was a good day to be an opening bowler in one-day international cricket. Jasprit Bumrah took like a lot of wickets, and England looked as likely to survive him as a puppy would, attacking Godzilla. He ended up with, how do you explain it, video game figures. Or, maybe when you're having like a dream where you make your debut and then you look up at the scoreboard briefly, that's what Jasprit Bumrah had, except for him it's not a dream and it happens a lot.
This is the last knot. My dad told me to say this.
Then you had Malahide and New Zealand seamers going up against Ireland. At one point, Andy McBride must have missed a ball by, 9 inches, 12 inches, a metre and a half. Earlier, Andy Balbirnie had left a ball that had bowled him. And then New Zealand went out to bat, and Mark Adair bowled Martin Guptill with a surprise straight full delivery. And then it's like Ireland pressed replay, and a few moments later, he did the exact same thing against Will Young. None of these things on their own are that weird. While Malahide is a good batting pitch at times, quite often a great batting pitch, it can turn feral when it wants to. And it is in Ireland, where they do have clouds and the ball swings around a lot. And Jasprit Bumrah is one of the best bowlers in the world with any colour ball, in any kind of format, anytime you want him. Again, not that surprising. But when I was thinking about this, I couldn't get it out of my head that it feels like people are bowling a lot better with the brand new white ball of recent times. And I thought back to the last IPL, which was another tournament where teams were actually losing a lot of wickets in the power play. Now, when you watch as much cricket as me, and today I commentated on one game while trying to keep an eye on the other one while looking at scores from other games at the same time, it is possible that sometimes you see patterns where there are no patterns. Like, you're watching so much cricket and you suddenly see like 3 or 4 people on one day hit reverse sweeps for 6, and you're like, well, that's the new trend. Everyone's going to hit reverse sweeps for 6, but it's just because you saw a bunch on the one day. Quite often when you look up the patterns, there's nothing there. It's just dumb luck that you saw more of this thing happen on one day because you were watching too much cricket. Today, that's kind of what I expected. I looked to see if the beginning of one day internationals had changed at all, and it turns out that they have. I mean, this is a trend, isn't it? It's not just my eyes. It's not just the fact that I happen to be following 2 games where it happened at the same time. This isn't just Bumrah on one or Malahide coughing up a grey day in a helpful pitch. Bowlers are finding more wickets at the top of ODI cricket than they have in a long time. And there must be a reason for this. And the fact that it's happening at the very same time that ODI averages overall have started to go above Test cricket for the first time in the history of cricket is really interesting. Part of that was because there was a dip when it comes to Test cricket averages, which is fair. But also, ODI batters are clearly getting a lot better at just not being dismissed while making their run. And when you look at it, with all these wickets up at the top over the last couple of years, there actually has been a dip when it comes to ODI batting averages. And I'm pretty sure the two are related. It's also very interesting that it really starts to become prominent around 2019, because that is the year that Kookaburra upgraded their cricket ball, essentially making this seam better. It wasn't something that was that widely talked about, but it has happened. And if you're a long-term follower of mine, you've watched lots of the videos and read lots of my stuff, you'll know that now I'm about to talk about the wobble ball. Because do you know what helps the wobble ball? A slightly stronger seam. But when you go back through all the wickets that fell today, they're not all wobble balls. And that's really important to note. Bumrah's first wicket was an in-swinger to Jason Roy. His second wicket was probably some kind of a wobble ball to Bairstow. And then when Mohammad Shami took Ben Stokes, that looked like an old-fashioned swinger, although the seam wasn't perfectly straight. But if you head back to Malahide, we do see a very familiar pattern to what we see in red ball cricket, where almost the vast majority of seam bowling wickets seem to be the wobble ball. Matt Henry moved 2 balls back in a long way off the pitch. The first one struck Paul Stirling plumb in front, but the one that was even more like the kind of test match wicket we see a lot of was Andy Balbirnie, who received a length ball outside off that he decided to leave. It was a brute of a ball, all things considered. I mean, it doesn't matter what format you're playing, or what shot you try, or what colour ball, that was good. If someone moves the ball this much with it ending up at the top of off, you're always in trouble. Just take a good look at where this ball lands. And remember, Matt Henry is landing it at a decent pace. And now look at where it ends up. This is a hell of a ball, and it really isn't that common to see a ball move that much, let's say between 2012 and 2018 in white ball cricket. And from the look at both of these balls, I'd say that both would most likely wobble. But even if they aren't, they're certainly jagging back violently off the seam, like, the batter made fun of their mums. But then you have Mark Adair coming out to bowl, and he bowled 2 really full balls. I would love to tell you that they swing massively, as Mark Adair can often do, but these seem to be quite straight to me. The first to Martin Guptill seems to utterly shock him. It was like he was out before he'd even taken his guard. And then Will Young came out, he took his guard, And if you were watching this on TV, you would have been confused and thought they accidentally showed Martin Guptill's ball again. Now, I don't think these balls were wobble, or at the very least, that's not what got the wicket. These were straight and full surprise balls that took unset batters. But let's look at the bigger picture here. We know that very new white balls swing, and that has always been the case. But as bowling around the world has started to lean less towards swing bowling and more towards seam bowling, there are not as many swing bowlers around now as there were 5 years ago, 10 years ago, or 15 years ago. That's a huge problem if you're looking to take early power play wickets in general. And if you look at the last 3 years of T20 data, you'll still see that a lot of swing bowlers have the best averages in the power play. But you'll also see a few more bowlers like Josh Hazlewood. And in fact, there are lots of seamers on this list now. That isn't what used to happen. The best power play seamers used to almost be exclusively swing bowlers. David Willey, Jason Behrendorff, and Roman Reyes. So what has happened is the swing bowlers are still really good, but the seamers, and especially the wobble ball bowlers, are having a day out as well. But when I looked at the first 6 overs, I didn't see as much of an effect. But when you look at the first 4 overs, and in T20 batters do tend to bash the hell out of the ball earlier, you can certainly see that this is another clear trend. Think about it as someone putting together a team. This means you can attack at the top of the innings with the ball by hitting the seam, trying a wobble, or just swinging it. That's a huge change from the days when basically only swing bowling was working. So while people like me have been absolutely obsessed with the pace-playing pandemic, it seems the white ball's got, at least a runny nose at the moment. This is obviously partly from the improved Kookaburra seam, and partly from everyone's favorite disruptor, the wobble ball. But this already feels longer than a blip when I look at these numbers. And we know, unlike the red ball, it's only going to last for a couple of overs before the white ball is kind of useless. But one way or another, bowlers are bouncing back in the power play. And you don't have to be Jasprit Bumrah to take advantage of it. Although, Mark Adair is actually really good as well. He's been at the top of this list for quite a while. Although after today, I don't think Martin Guptill or Will Young would need to see the list. They just, barely saw the balls that bowled them.